Welcome into the Scoop podcast brought to you by Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. All right, welcome into the Scoop. I'm your host, Ross Martin. As always, I'm joined by Don Callahan. This is brought to you by Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. And remember, guys, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And of course, subscribe to Inside Carolina's YouTube page. Don, happy Monday, week one. What's going on, buddy?
Happy Monday. That's the best way to describe it. You getting started my Monday, my week with Ross Martin. Can't be better.
That's right. We're recording on Monday, just a little scheduling stuff because of what's going to happen this week with game stuff and with some recruiting content. So we need to get ahead of it. We're going to jump right into the stuff. Of course, this is week 0 for UNC football. They kick off against Florida A&M on Saturday. But before that, UNC had a commitment this week from Joshua Horton, a defensive tackle, and that happened on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then UNC is going to have 3 other announcements, potential commitments this week. So 2 of those are happening on Wednesday. Amari Campbell, a linebacker out of Virginia, and Paul Billups, a wide receiver out of Virginia, are announcing on Wednesday. And then Kavion Keys, who visited UNC a while back, a linebacker out of Virginia, so they're all Virginia kids, is announcing Saturday. So we wanted to go get this podcast into your feed and on YouTube, so you'll have a couple days to consume it before those announcements on Wednesday. And we want to talk about Joshua Horton. Sound good, Don?
Yes, sounds great.
Okay, and we're also going to talk about Kevin Concepcion commitment to NC State, and also get into some team stuff at the end to kind of preview the season. Since it is game week and this is a recruiting show, we also touch on the team because recruiting feeds the team, right, Don?
It does. It's the
Okay,
lifeblood,
there you
as they
go.
say.
Love it. Of course, we're brought to you by Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. We'll talk about that more a little bit later in the show. All right into it on the scoop here. Joshua Horton committed to UNC on Friday. 6'5", 290-pound defensive tackle from Langston Hughes High School in Fairborn, Georgia. A low 3-star guy, 841 in the nation, according to 24/7 Sports Composite. 96th ranked defensive tackle, 84th player in the state of Georgia. Don, break down this commitment. What happened, what led him to pick UNC, and then we'll get into him as a player as Joshua Horton joins UNC's 2023 recruiting class.
So basically, he had a top 10 that eventually got dwindled down to a top 3, and he took official visits to those 3 schools in June. There's North Carolina, UCF, and Auburn. Heading into June, there was a lot of talk about Auburn, a lot of talk about UCF, not a whole lot of talk about UNC. And even after the fact, he kind of admits that UNC wasn't really a factor in his recruitment. I think he actually told me that they were probably outside of his top 5. But then he took that official visit, which was his final official visit the last weekend of June, and that completely turned his recruitment on its head, and North Carolina became his leader. At the time, he had planned on taking his recruitment into the fall, taking additional visits, and then making a decision. And then I guess in July, he kind of hit the brakes and decided, North Carolina was a place for me, and set the announcement for this past Friday and announced for North Carolina.
There you go. And UNC gets a big-bodied guy. That's the whole thing here. This guy isn't a high-ranked 4 or 5-star guy. He's a guy with a frame, a body, a project to some extent, someone who can develop into a player, maybe as a junior or senior, maybe as a redshirt sophomore, something like that. What is UNC getting with Horton? 6'5", 290 already. So the frame's there, the weight's there. Floor is yours, Don.
So I think you hit on it. I mean, the main thing with him is that he is a big body, and he has athleticism with that body. He moves really well. The other item I would add is that he plays for one of the top programs in the state of Georgia. Hughes went all the way to the state championship and lost in the state championship game. Has I think like 3 other guys on his team that are Power 5 players. So in practices he's going up against some of the best recruits. But like you said, he's a bit of a project. He's going to take some time to develop, but the tools are certainly there. You can't teach 6'5", 290. He's going to have to add some weight, some good weight, And right now he plays more of an end position at his high school, but he'll kick inside on the college level.
So is this kind of a scholarship that would have gone to Jamal Jarrett,
I think that they would have taken him regardless.
taken Horton?
Taken Horton, yeah, taken Horton regardless. I mean, I think there's, that he is a guy that the staff just really liked regardless. But I mean, obviously they would have loved to have had Jamal Jarrett.
Yeah, and so with Joshua Horton, he is now like the second big body defensive lineman along of Joel Starling, 6'5", 310, out of Richmond, Virginia. And of course, UNC has 3 edge players committed to, but those guys are going to be the smaller kind of jack or rush in. So 2 big defensive tackles committed. Are they going to go for another one? Who else is on the kind of the radar?
So for the most part, they're probably done. I mean, there's Desmond Umazulu, who he's an edge rusher guy who's announcing next week.
Okay.
But that will probably go in a different direction. Still though UNC's involved, but I mean, really, he's not. He's not a D tackle like Horton. So it's a completely different position.
There you go. So this is 15 commitments now for UNC. Remember, they had a player decommit 2 weeks ago. Who was that guy's name again?
Zach Toby.
Zach Toby. Barely knew you. UNC's class is ranked number 26 in the nation right now. There's a chance they add a couple more commitments this week to kind of get ahead before the season starts. And I meant to do this at the top of the show, Don, and we need to talk about this. The elephant in the room. The elephant in the room.
Oh no! What is this?
You went on another podcast.
Oh,
and talked recruiting, and like did superlatives, which is like what we do sometimes. I want to hear your case first.
And
we'll explain what it was.
It was Vip's podcast, and I've noticed that you've gone on other podcasts and just kind of act like this podcast didn't matter during those times. And so, I bumped into Vip while I was in Charlotte. He lives in Charlotte, and we had lunch. Lunch led to other things. And, next thing you know, I'm on his podcast.
There you go. How quickly that relationship develops, you meet, bump into each other, you exchange numbers. The next thing you know, you're on his podcast. No, I actually listened to it. It was good. I listened to it at 1.25 speed. Don and Taylor Vippolis breaking down recruiting superlatives for all of Don's history covering UNC football recruiting. So there was about 20 or so superlatives y'all went through. Definitely check that podcast out. Don and Taylor. But you got the competition too now. I got my buddy Adam.
That's what I hear.
Adam on the beat.
That's what everyone keeps on telling me. Watch out for Adam. He's going to steal your man, all this other stuff.
And now I'm doing a show with Jeff Schottmer.
I know. Look at that.
And so I'm doing a weekly show. Just a little promo here. We're actually recording right after this. This is early Monday morning.
So what's the Jeff show? Because I know you've mentioned it in passing with me.
Yeah,
but this would be a good idea to kind of promo.
Yeah, it happened really quickly. Kind of off of him appearing on our show. Jeff expressed some interest in doing a show podcast with us. Feelings were mutual. Jeff's obviously a very bright guy who brings a lot, having played and coached at UNC. So we're bringing him on to do a weekly show. We're gonna record it Monday. It's gonna air Monday. It's video only right now. This is not really my place, but I would love for it to be a podcast as well, because that's how I consume content. I don't watch videos as much. I listen to a podcast while I run or work out or clean or whatever. But we just have so many podcasts. You kind of only release one a day is kind of how the deal works. But it's video right now. And it's going to be recapping games. It's going to be recapping the game that was on Saturday. It's going to be talking about, certain plays, certain drives inside the huddle, inside the coaching room, inside the position rooms, and really getting a really in-depth X's and O's analysis on the team. Because, look, he coached these players last year, as we talked about on our podcast. So looking forward to getting that started. We'll do a preview show, recording it today. This is Monday. You'll probably hear it Tuesday, Wednesday. And then after that, it'll be after every game on Monday. Then we're going to skip the bye weeks leading into a game. But, of course, we'll recap every game. So it's called Calling the Shots with Jeff Schottmer.
All right.
Okay.
That was great.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, maybe the best duo for hair in the podcast world.
Okay.
All right.
Life goals, I guess.
There you go. All right. This week, Don, you want to just lay it out? What's going on this week with recruiting, and then we'll talk about each person.
Yeah. So we're just talking. Well, you don't want to get into Concepcion yet.
Let's do that. Let's do that after
Do
this.
that there. Okay.
Yeah.
So Wednesday we have Paul Billups,
Okay.
wide receiver from Virginia Beach, making his announcement. He's down to North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Michigan State.
Okay.
Also on Wednesday, I'm still trying to find out details as far as time and how he's going to do it and all that. Billups is actually doing a ceremony. Amari Campbell, linebacker from Northern Virginia. I know you say Virginia, we feel like they're close. Northern Virginia, Virginia Beach, almost, they're basically different states.
Okay.
But he's down to North Carolina, Maryland, and West Virginia.
Okay.
And then we have Kavion Keys, who is announcing on Saturday, which is his birthday, is also the day of UNC's opener, which is, so it's not a great day to choose. This is the funny thing. Fans think that Mac Brown chooses when these kids announce and everything. I promise you, Mac Brown did not want Kavion Keys to announce on UNC's home opener. But anyway.
Yeah, because it's like announcing on a holiday. You don't get as much attention. You want to announce on you announce when nothing else is going on because it brings UNC a little bit into the news cycle.
Absolutely. And then the whole KC announcing last week thing was just terribly done as far as from a promotional standpoint, but that's completely separate. But anyway,
Okay.
So Keys is down to North Carolina and Penn State essentially. I think for Virginia Tech's also a finalist, but I mean, this is coming down to North Carolina and Penn State for Keys.
Okay, cool. Let's get into each one a little bit here. So Paul Billups, I recognize the name, connections to Dre Bly, a 6'2", 185-pound wide receiver from Western Branch High School in Chesapeake, VA. Now, is that Dre Bly's high school?
Yes, Dre Bly's high school. So cool. It's not just Dre Bly's area. It's his high school. And as I've mentioned a bunch of times on this podcast, Bly is, you go walking around 757 and you definitely hear the name Dre Bly. There's Parks, Dre Bly Parks,
really?
Stadium. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the major stadiums that they actually play in growing up is Dre Bly Stadium, which is great. I mean, he gave back to the community a lot, and also on top of that, like Bly's sister is a teacher in the area, and he has other different things, and it's one of those areas where everybody kind of stays there. You grow up there, you stay there. So a lot of the dads now, they play with Dre Bly, through Pop Warner and high school and all that. But anyway,
yeah. Okay, so he's ranking here 24/7 Sports Composite, 627 in the nation, number 80 wide receiver, number 14 in the state of Virginia. Paul Billups, we got his finalists. Go through them again real quick.
Michigan State, North Carolina, and Virginia Tech.
Okay, and he's 6'2". What kind of player is Paul Billups, and what could he potentially bring to UNC if he were to commit to the Tar Heels on Wednesday?
So I think we're just, in a nutshell, he's an tall, long outside receiver, but I think he brings some athleticism, because I think a lot of times when you think of that, you think of this guy just jetting down the sidelines. But he's the type of guy who can catch those tunnel screens and get some yardage. Has great instincts. Play DB also. Some people mention, hey, he would be a great DB, and he could, but I think he's an even better wide receiver. I think that had this kid gone to more of the camps, he probably would have. His ranking would have been higher. I mean, we have him as a high 3-star. I think he has 4-star abilities, just with his frame and his size. I mean, I guess he did go to some of the camps, but yeah, I mean, he's an outside receiver who has some playmaking ability.
So was this guy a take even with Concepcion if he would have committed to UNC?
Yeah. I mean, because Concepcion is a inside guy, and Billups is an outside guy, and it's easy to. I want to say it's easy. There are a lot more inside guys. There feels like there's a lot more, 5'11", 6-foot wide receivers than there are 6'2", 6'3", guys who can take the top off of defense.
Okay, and UNC has Chris Culver committed at 6'3", 174 outside guy, and then Christian Hamilton at 6 foot 175. So if Paul Billups commits to UNC, he'll be the third wide receiver in UNC's class. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Are you going to that ceremony?
I don't know yet.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Amari Campbell. I remember this guy when he visited. Linebacker, 6 foot 215. Unity Reed High School in Manassas, Virginia. Unranked in the composite, but the 103rd ranked linebacker in 24/7 Sports, number 38 player in the state of Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, West Virginia. What's going on with Amari? What would he bring to UNC if he were to commit?
So he's another one of those guys. Took 3 official visits in June: Maryland, West Virginia, North Carolina. Wanted to commit. I believe his birthday is at the end of August, so he wanted to kind of do it close to his birthday. It's not actually on his birthday. I think this was the latest that he could have done it without it affecting his football season. And yeah, I mean, I think the important thing with this, we talked about the Dre Bly connection with Paul Billups. Well, Tommy Thigpen played in this area when he was in high school and actually played against Campbell's head coach. So there's that connection. They have a mutual respect between the two, which is key. As far as what he brings, I mean, this is a, that traditional Mike linebacker. He's not the tallest kid, but he's thick. He hits hard. Loves to kind of stick his nose in there. I mean, whatever sort of cliches you want to throw in there for a Mike linebacker, that's what he kind of fits.
Okay. Amari Campbell. I mean, it just seems like UNC is in that range of beating out Virginia, Virginia Tech, maybe State, Maryland, West Virginia, maybe South Carolina here or there. That's kind of where this class, that's kind of where they are.
Yeah, you said it, not me.
Is that, I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think
this is the truth. I don't know why.
Yeah. I think that North Carolina is a lot of these battles are between that group of schools. South Carolina, Virginia Tech, NC State, and I know that
Tennessee.
I know the fans feel like they should be competing against Clemson and Alabama, but the fact is, this is kind of where the class is.
Yeah, it's a great point, Don. Okay, Amari Campbell, he's announcing on Wednesday. Okay, and we got one more on Saturday, and then we're going to take a commercial break. Kavion Keys, another linebacker, a little bit longer, 6'3", 205 from Varina High School in Richmond, Virginia. Did I say that right?
Yes, Varina.
And this is a higher ranked kid, 24/7 Sports Composite, 4-star, 319 in the nation, number 24 ranked linebacker, number 5th player in Virginia. So this is a high level kid. As Don said earlier, Penn State, Florida was in there, Virginia's in there, and UNC. Is this the guy who plays baseball? Or is that someone that's already committed?
No, that's Caleb Koss is committed.
Oh, because it's the 2 C's and it's the 2 K's.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little confusing.
Well, actually, the Caleb is a KC because
Caleb
he spells it with just like my Caleb. Yeah, this is a kid from a athletic standpoint, more dynamic of a linebacker. More of an outside guy, but definitely has the tenacity to play inside. But very rangy, as mentioned, long, more playmaking ability. I mean, you look at his rank; he's a 4-star guy. As far as his recruitment, he took official to North Carolina very early on. I think so it was that first weekend of June, and I think UNC set the bar very high at that point. But I think he still wanted to kind of explore. Well, I think he struggled between exploring his options and just kind of ending his recruitment. He ultimately decided to explore his options, which included an official visit to Penn State the last weekend of June, which really kind of muddied his recruitment. Virginia Tech's in there, and as I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's much of a factor other than just more of a nuisance than anything else, because he's going to pick either North Carolina or Penn State on Saturday.
Okay. And are you going to go up for this one?
I mean, he doesn't have any sort of announcement plans as far as I know. But it's going to be very difficult for. I imagine I will not be going to that one just because UNC plays that night. I don't know how it could work out for me.
Okay.
I mean,
Um,
it's like 3 hours away,
and
and then
you got to be in Chapel Hill to take photos of recruits on campus for the game.
I gotta be in Chapel Hill to cover the game.
Yeah, you're so sketchy sometimes. Can you not take photos of recruits at games?
I mean, I just go to games to cover up the game.
Oh my god! All right, we got a couple things after the break. We're going to talk about Kevin Concepcion. Commits to NC State. We'll talk about that briefly. I also have a question from a loyal listener who actually sent it to me, and it's a good kind of discussion question. We'll get into that, and then we'll talk team stuff with the game coming up on Saturday. We're gonna have Don pick the season, pick UNC's record, pick each game, and we'll go through that. And I'm also gonna have Don go through how he preps for a game day.
Oh boy.
Load up the cargo shorts with your different your different cameras. Do you wear a tie? Do you wear the button down? We'll get into it right after the break. First one talked about Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com, guys. It is game week, so make sure you head to Johnny T-shirt on Franklin Street and online at JohnnyT-shirt.com. And remember, all Inside Carolina premium subscribers get 10% off with the discount code found on the message board. Use that code, get 10% off, a couple T-shirts, a couple sweatshirts, a jersey for your kid, a jersey for yourself, anything you need for tailgating. Look, you show up with a buddy doesn't have a UNC shirt, roll over to Johnny T-shirt on Franklin Street. It's going to be packed. It's going to be a good scene on Friday and Saturday. Get a game day polo, get a jersey, get a T-shirt, get a sweatshirt. Get yourself all set up for the season at Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. Pick up a toy for the kids, a football, anything you need right on Franklin Street. Johnny T-shirt, JohnnyT-shirt.com. Remember, all Inside Carolina subscribers get 10% off. Check them out. Support local, support us, support them. Alumni owned and right there on Franklin Street. Play some national ads and get back with more from Don on the On the Scoop podcast. And we're back on the Scoop podcast, brought to you by Giant T-shirt and GiantT-shirt.com. Guys, also shout out to Blue Shark Vodka. They're back sponsoring Inside Carolina podcasts and videos. They are going to be the title sponsor of Shot Caller, Calling the Shots on Inside Carolina's YouTube page. We went back and forth between those two names. And they're also going to be one of the sponsors for the On the Beat. Thought I'm going to give them a quick shout out here on the Scoop. Don, during the break, I heard a sound. What was it? What's going on at the man tower?
I was yelling at my kitten. I woke up this morning and there was chicken wings in my hallway because he had gotten into my my trash can and he steals the chicken wings. And so I cleaned it up before I rushed up here. That was one of the issues this morning. And so yeah, he was trying to go back into the back. And as you know, we're kind of like, tied to this
tied
computer.
in, yeah.
So yes, I got to handle that.
That's a very Don story.
That's for the people who enjoy hearing about my pet stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's the least surprising thing that you're a cat guy. A very Don story. Chicken wings left out. Cat gets in it. You're podcasting with the Philadelphia Flyers.
The wings were in the trash can. He had dug them out of the trash can.
I'm sure you ate them. I know you're a big wing guy.
Yeah, I definitely ate the wings.
Wings aren't surviving more than a couple hours in the Callahan household. All right, let's get into Kevin Concepcion. I don't know, you take it wherever you want it. It was back and forth between a classic NC State UNC battle. A wide receiver that UNC was very wanted. And back and forth between UNC. There are rumors that he had cooled on State at some point. He visited UNC when I was there for the scrimmage. What happened for him to commit to NC State? And then any insight into, the recruiting battle there? I don't know. Take it away.
Yeah. So I'll try to make this quick as possible. Although we're good on time. But so I mean, North Carolina State offered him last summer, and then I can remember talking to him, and he expressed that he always wanted a North Carolina offer. North Carolina definitely kept him warm throughout, but they didn't offer. UNC didn't offer until February. So during that whole time,
this February,
this past February, yes,
got it.
So that entire time, NC State was able to build a lead. And was able to, because I mean, this is very common for recruits. You're going to visit the schools who have offered you more frequently than the schools who haven't. So he basically doubled up his visits to NC State. I don't know exactly what point but at some point he became close with Lex Thomas, the quarterback commit from NC State. Both brothers play at NC State, and that ultimately ended up playing a big role in this too. But he from what I've gathered and talking to multiple sources, he the one weekend in June. It basically heading into June, this basically became a North Carolina NC State battle. There's some other schools, but for the most part, that was all noise. Going into June, he spends an entire weekend at NC State. All the while, he's spending the night at Lex's house. Not a good sign for North Carolina. Then, I think it was 2 weeks later. A week later, he takes his official to NC State. And from what I was told, he was basically done, but he wanted to kind of go through with his UNC official visit as a courtesy to Lonnie Galloway, who he has a great relationship with, and also to North Carolina, a school that he grew up rooting for. Mm-hmm. Takes the official to North Carolina, and that completely changes his recruitment to the point where, I believe that he came close to maybe even making a commitment before he left Chapel Hill.
Really?
But yeah.
Silent commitment.
Well, I don't think he ever did anything, but I think it came close to that. That's how much he enjoyed his official visit.
Okay.
Then he goes, obviously goes home, kind of thinks things through, lets dust settle, because you don't want to make a decision on the high of a visit. And then it just becomes a true North Carolina NC State battle. I think, though, that once the high of the UNC official kind of wore off, NC State had the lead at that point. And I think it was a matter of he had a difficult time telling North Carolina no. If you kind of look at some of the actions, you talked about the visit that he went for the practice in late July. Well, he made that. If you remember, I was sitting there waiting the entire time. He came at the very end, didn't even see any of the scrimmage because he literally came when the scrimmage ended. Meanwhile, the night before, he was at NC State's Alpha Wolf camp. It was there the whole time, so it wasn't a very good look. And when I talked to Casey after that practice visit, he mentioned that he didn't get a chance to spend time with the players, talk to the coaches afterwards. Sounded like he didn't spend a whole lot of time in Chapel Hill that day.
Yeah.
So anyway, the thing was that he kept on telling North Carolina, hey, you're going to be the selection. You're going to be the selection all the way up until at least Thursday night. He announced on Saturday.
He was telling UNC they were going to be the selection.
UNC they were going to be the selection. And obviously he's telling NC State the same thing. And that just kind of added to the whole, and then, at the game, the whole thing as far as the announcement, I wish he would have done it differently. He literally right before kickoff kind of just said it with a bunch of media around him. There was no true ceremony.
Yeah.
But from what I was told from people who were there, he was decked out in NC State gloves, NC State socks, NC State headband. This is before he even announced. So it was pretty obvious what he was going to do if you were at that game. So he picked NC State.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Kevin Concepcion becomes a Wolfpack. And the Wolfpack media celebrated.
They did celebrate
because they beat Carolina for a recruit. There you have it.
Yeah.
Some
of those guys are super fans, and it's unfortunate because it gives people in our position a bad name because we try to be, objective and cover recruiting, but some of those guys just can't hold it back, can't keep it in their pants. You know what I mean? So.
Whoa, not me that said that. And look, NC State's a fine football program that has won a lot in the last 5 years, I guess, with Diamond Dave Dorn. So they win a recruiting battle against Tar Heels. It's going to happen. I mean, you have two in-state programs that are both playing, both kind of trying to not be mediocre. So you're going to have some in-state battles that go their way. All right, we'll move on past him.
Well, you said you had a question.
Yeah, this is unrelated to that though.
Gotcha. I thought this was all connected.
But this is good. This will lead right into it before we go to the team stuff. All right, so this is from a buddy of mine, very into recruiting, very into UNC football, season ticket holder, all that good stuff. All right, the question is, can Mack Brown recover from last season on the recruiting trail? So UNC went 6-7 last year, a couple bad losses, kind of stopped the momentum after going to the Orange Bowl and kind of trending up. They went 6-7 last year. Can Mack recover from last season on the recruiting trail? There's lots of negative recruiting that has been effective for the 23 class and the 24 class. trying not to get they're not getting like that level of recruit as we talked about earlier in the podcast. What's going to have to happen for them to get back to that area where they're landing 4 stars and 5 stars and competing with the likes of Georgia, Clemson, the bigger schools that are at least in the fold for some of those big name recruits?
So obviously, you have to change the perception, and that can easily be done by winning on the football field. How many wins, what the wins look like, what the losses look like, all that sort of stuff factors into this. I think what North Carolina needs to have happen is to win more than they are expected to win. I mean, really, if they went completely undefeated, which would include beating Notre Dame and beating probably Clemson in the title game, then yeah, that would definitely put North Carolina back on the perception of, eventually challenging for a national championship, which is what I think Mac Brown was selling for a while there. But obviously, if we're being realistic, that's not going to happen. So it's just how many losses can they have to where they get back to that point? That's so difficult to kind of say. But winning will go a long way, because I think what really hurt, as I mentioned, was Mac was selling North Carolina's is a sleeping giant, can win a national championship, and then you had last season where they looked nothing close to that at all, and it was a huge step backwards.
Yeah, and like that was supposed to be a big year with Sam Howell, the junior. You had the talent. They did lose a lot, and I think the losses of Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, Dami Brown, Daz Newsome was a lot. Impacted them more than they thought. So here's the deal. I think if they beat Texas A&M, which they were right there, they would have been 9. It was a COVID year or something like that. So it would have been 9-4 or something like that. That looks a lot different than 8-5 or whatever that was that year.
But I think that the way that so here's where the wins and losses stuff. I think that UNC was competitive in that game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so even though they lost, I don't think it hurt them that much. The South Carolina loss, though,
well, you didn't let me finish.
Awful.
You didn't let me finish my point.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So they get that 9-4 season or whatever it would have been, beating Texas A&M. Okay, they take that momentum into the 2021 season. Now that's where they drop the ball. Losing Virginia Tech like they did on the road with all that hype, getting killed by Georgia Tech, Florida State, and then losing the close games. Look, if they beat Pitt, which went to overtime, they beat State, which they lost in the last 2 minutes. You're looking at, instead of and then they beat South Carolina, or at least, are respectable against South Carolina. That's 2 more wins. So you're looking at 8-4, instead of 6-7, or my math there is a little off, but those close wins and you can't be losing Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is down. Florida State's been down. They've lost Florida State back-to-back years. Like, if UNC wants to recruit a high level, they're going to have to stop. They're going to have to always beat teams like Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Virginia, always beat Duke. They should be beating Wake. And in the close games, the ones against Miami or NC State, or, Pitt's been up a little bit. So, yeah, I guess it does come down to wins and losses. And just like, the floor should be 7, 8 wins, and the ceiling should be 9, 10 wins. And the floor, are you there?
You're frozen. There you go.
Okay, sorry.
We're good now.
Did you hear everything?
I heard everything. You were frozen, but I heard everything.
You were frozen too. Whatever. We won't cut this. The bottom right now, the bottom needs to be like 7 wins, 8 wins. The ceiling needs to be 9, 10, maybe one year get 11 wins, 12 wins. But right now the floor is 6. You like that? That's the base level where, like, if things go wrong, 6 wins. If things go right, maybe 7, 8, 9 wins. You got to kind of flip that up and make it a little bit higher. That's when you get 8 wins consistently, then maybe 9, 10 wins. That's when you can start landing those big time recruits.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think now, before, it's, the new coach is always able to sell promise, because they can always dismiss the prior seasons as, I wasn't the coach then. Now Mac Brown has to kind of live with what he has done as the coach the past couple of years at UNC. You know what I mean?
And look, he's recruited great last three cycles. Yeah. So those players, great recruiting classes, top 15, I think, in a row, 3 top 15 classes, I think, or maybe 3 top 20. Yeah. Those guys, you should see it on the field. And that kind of starts this year when you have guys like Miles Murphy, Desmond Evans, Tony Grimes, as juniors.
And I think the other thing too is that that UNC benefited a lot that 2021 class in state was historically in the the internet era was the best class in state. Since then, there's been a huge drop off.
Yeah.
Now, last year they were able to dip into Virginia, which Virginia had a really good class, and they were able to steal all of those kids and help them with that class. This year, Virginia's down, North Carolina's down, and then next year is not looking. I mean, we still have some things that could pop up, new guys can pop up and all that, but it's not looking all that great for the in-state classes in North Carolina and Virginia. So that's the other thing that Mac Brown's battling.
Yeah, that's a great point. When North Carolina high school, when the high school class in North Carolina, Virginia are higher, UNC has a greater chance of landing those 4 and 5 stars. That's what happened in 21, 22. So I guess it's up to the high schoolers. All right, good stuff. Good question there. I mean, that's a broad topic of discussion that has a lot of factors at play. I think NIL now plays a bigger role. Some of the bigger schools are handling NIL a little better. It's tough to talk about because I don't really know everything about that. And kind of where the money comes from and how it's distributed. I think different schools are doing it different ways.
Yeah, different states have different laws. Someone was telling me that Illinois, who stole that kid, that Zach Toby from North Carolina, that underneath their state laws. So I don't know if this is true. This is what I was told. So don't quote me on this, but I was told that the coaches can actually negotiate the NIL deals with the recruits, whereas other states that isn't the case, which is kind of interesting to look at.
It's the Wild West, so whatever loopholes you can find, you got to do it. And I mean, there's some schools that are like giving essentially a salary to every player on the roster. I've heard of that being options, whatever. That's a whole different podcast. When you have somebody on that can actually talk about it. Maybe someone like Pat Sudis, like who can kind of tell us what UNC can or cannot do.
Yeah, no, that'd be a good idea for an off-season sort of thing.
For sure. All right, let's get into the team stuff. I'm heading over to Kenan Stadium here at 10:30 for 11 o'clock press conference with Mac Brown. We believe he's going to announce the quarterback then. So a better idea what's going on at quarterback.
Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be Drake May.
Okay.
That's everything we've heard. So, but from what Mac said last week, it sounds like they're going to have Jacoby Criswell ready to go, and they may at times play two. I would not be surprised to see both against Florida A&M. They got to keep Criswell around. I think Criswell's really good too. So the thing about Criswell,
I feel like playing a team like Florida A&M that you almost have to kind of. If it were me, I would use that as another opportunity to evaluate the quarterbacks. So I wouldn't make a final decision today. I would make a final decision after that game.
There you go. Maybe that happens.
I just feel like the quarterback position, why we make so many bad decisions, is that quarterbacks look different in practice than they look in games.
Yeah.
And there's certain things, the improv stuff, you can't see so much in practice, but you could definitely see more in games. But that's just me.
Live bullets. So I want to go through the schedule with you, Don, quickly. We have about 5-10 minutes left. We've all the other podcasts are breaking down. You have the schedule podcast, preview podcast on the beat. Get all your analysis there. This is the Don Callahan podcast. I'm going to go through each game.
Okay.
And I want Don to pick each one. I'll keep a little record here. And,
should I just pick UNC in every game so that I'll get thumbs up on?
I want you to be honest, dude. Do you cater to the masses, or do you want to be honest to yourself?
Yeah, let's just be honest. I like honesty. It's the best policy.
There you go. All right, ready?
Yep.
All right, Florida A&M, Saturday, August 27th.
Win.
Okay. App State.
I'm going win. I know some people are thinking loss there. I'm going win.
Okay,
Tough one, though.
If that's a loss, that's bad news bears, because you got to start 3-0.
Yeah, App just has a tough team to play, especially in App.
Yeah, it's 12 p.m. It's gonna be rowdy. They're lucky they didn't get a 3:30 or 6 or 8 cake. But that's the biggest game. I've been saying this all offseason. It's the biggest game in App State Boone history with UNC.
I think it's really close, though.
The flagship school. Yeah, it could be a close game. And look, those close games, the crowd gets in it, and that's dangerous. So,
I agree that if it was like an 8 o'clock game, it might be a little bit different with the fans.
I think that definitely would have a bigger factor. All the moonshine up there, the mountain guys drinking moonshine. Just kidding around. All right, Georgia State in Atlanta.
Win.
Okay.
Although I think it will be tougher than what people expect, but I think it should be an easy win.
All right, and then a bye week, and then at home. Kind of, I think this is more like the home opener. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the one where everybody comes in town. Notre Dame in Chapel Hill. I don't think the time is set. I don't think it is. What you got there?
Well, the other thing I want to point out is this is the game that a lot of recruits are saying they want to come to. So I'm going loss.
Okay.
I think
they're ranked number 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think Notre Dame has their quarterback situation figured out, and they have a good defense. They have some good players. I mean, they've recruited well through the years. Recruiting really well this year. So I'm going Notre Dame.
Okay, Virginia Tech
win.
At home. So back-to-back home game. Virginia Tech October 1st.
I think they win that one.
Cool. That should be a good game. That'd be a good game to go to.
Yeah.
October 1st, a little bit cooler. Get a giant T-shirt, sweatshirt. Virginia Tech. You think they win? Okay, new coach there, Brent Pry. I met him at the AC Media Day. I call Brent Pry. He's like Larry Fedora light. JV Larry Fedora.
I think that he was a good hire by Virginia Tech, and I actually think I expect him to do well at Virginia Tech.
Yep, he was very personable. He's high energy. He had the same energy that Larry Fedora had. Good looking dude, stylish, very likable when you talk to him in person. So Brent Pry. Okay. You have that as a win.
Win for North Carolina.
Okay,
yes.
So right now in October, going into Miami, Don has UNC 4-1. All right, October 8th, heading down to Hard Rock Stadium versus what?
Okay, you're right. No, 3-1, is it not?
4-1.
Okay, all right.
Right? You haven't beating App, right?
App, Virginia Tech.
It's 4-1.
Okay.
Florida A&M, App State, Georgia State, lost to Notre Dame, beat Virginia Tech.
3. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Can't add.
All right, October 8th at Miami.
Loss.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, on paper,
that's
Miami. But Mac's been very good against I don't think Mac's lost to Miami.
Yeah, I mean, Miami's always the like on paper, Miami should beat like just about everyone they've ever played the past 20 years.
They just don't.
But they just don't. So I'm
new coach down there too.
Yeah, new coach gets it together. Maybe.
Yeah. Mario Cristobal. Now that's gonna change the recruiting down there for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Then back to North Carolina, but they play Duke on October 15th in a packed Wallace Wade Stadium.
Loss. Just kidding. Win.
Duke
is awful. And new coach really, I think he could do some things, maybe make a really good defense there eventually, but that's just such a tough situation.
Did I tell you what the Duke coach said to me?
No, what did he say?
I said this on another podcast. I mean, it's not a big deal, but obviously me talking about it makes it a big deal. I know their SID pretty well. Art Chase, he's a good dude. Duke's SID, was talking to him. And I was leaving, my book back on, was leaving Charlotte, heading home, was packing up. I go, hey, nice to meet you, coach. Welcome to North Carolina. I go, hey, I cover UNC. He goes, oh, good for you. I was like, come on, dude. What an asshole thing to say.
Well, some of them like really dive into the rivalry thing. Like,
I was not trying to be like, oh, I cover your rival. Like, oh, you're Duke, I'm UNC. It's like, I was like, hey, man, I'm part of the media.
I just feel like some of them are just so phony with the rivalry thing.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It was this one thing he said to me. I'm not gonna, hold it against him. Yeah. I'm not gonna bring it up every time I talk about him.
I mean, I've heard he's a great dude.
Yeah. Well, he's got a minus for me. All right, bye week, October 22nd, which sets up well. Their bye weeks are set up well. You have 3 games and a bye before Notre Dame. You have 4 games and a bye before Pitt. Pitt, Notre Dame, Miami would probably be the 3 toughest games on the schedule. They have Pitt at home on October 29th.
I'm going to go loss.
Okay, I think that's the big game that kind of can change the schedule between 8 wins or 7 wins.
Yeah.
That loss. I also had that as a loss when I did the prediction podcast.
Good. I was wondering because I think Pitt's, I know everyone looks at, what they lost on offense, but I think their defense is going to be really good. Okay,
then Virginia at Virginia. New coach there too. The former Clemson OC.
Loss.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Win. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
While I think the Brett Pry match was great for Virginia Tech. I think this is an awful marriage for UVA. I think
What's the coach's name?
Elliott.
Yes.
I think is an awful match. I think that there's a lot of problems there. I mean, that's why what's his name left, was because there were some problems there, and that's why Anthony Poindexter, who I used to talk to a lot, no longer talk to. But the fact that he didn't take that job, to me, says that it's a mess over there. So
okay, you have a win.
Definitely a win.
Tony Elliott is the coach's name.
Tony Elliott. I knew it was an Elliott. Couldn't remember which one.
All right, 3 more. We got to get out of here. Georgia Tech. Sorry. Wake Forest in Winston-Salem on November 12th.
I am going. I'm going win there.
Wow. Okay. So you have them beating Wake at home.
What do you have on that game?
I put that as a loss. Now
Really?
I think Wake, I think Pitt, I think State are all kind of toss-ups.
Okay.
But look, I have no reason to trust this team. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that there's going to be a game here that we have that they're going to. I feel like they're going to lose a game that they should win.
And they could win a game that they're supposed to lose.
Yes, agree 100%. So I feel like my wins and losses could be correct, but maybe not exactly the outcomes.
Okay, Georgia Tech back at home November 19th. Nice little fall game before Thanksgiving weekend. Like the week before Thanksgiving week. Georgia Tech in Kenan Stadium.
Win.
Yeah, I think that coach is on the hot seat. I think any coach, I think Syracuse coach and Georgia Tech coach are the 2 coaches on the hot seat in the ACC.
Yeah.
And the finale Friday, Black Friday, against number 13 right now, 13 ranked NC State Wolfpack in Kenan Stadium. Could be at noon, 1 or 3:30.
I'm going to go loss.
Okay, there you have it.
What did you have for that game?
I have a loss.
Okay.
But look, that's a toss-up game for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have them 8 and 4.
Yeah.
I had them 7-5. So I had our difference was the Wake game.
Wake game. Okay.
Yeah. Look, I'll just go on record here. I think Pitt, State, Wake are my toss-ups. I think the Virginia and Virginia Tech games are games they should win, but they've blown games like that before.
Yeah.
I think they, if they looking really good, they go down to Miami and get a win. So, and then I think, like I said, they could beat Pitt or State. Yeah. So I think the range is anywhere between 6 and 9. And I think that's over under set at 7.5. So yeah. I think 7 or 8 is where most people have them going. Sound good?
Yep. Sounds awesome. So
all right, Don.
Get out of here.
I think we're doing a show next week. Because
you and I.
Yeah, just because of schedule. So I don't know, it's coast to coast. We alternate. The plan of the season is to alternate coast and coast. So like 1 week we have a pod, next week coast to coast goes because we're both recruiting podcasts. But to get that going, we have to go back to back, which is fine. Because we will, I think, have a couple commitments to talk about next week.
Are you predicting?
Just based on what you've told me.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm out of here, guys. Make sure to listen to all the other podcasts. Subscribe to Inside Carolina on Facebook. On Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, check out our new show, Calling the Shots, featuring myself and Jeff Schottmer. Giant T-shirt, Blue Shark Vodka for Don Callahan. I'm Ross Martin.